This is Mike Henry with Follower of One, and today's passage is Titus 3:8. The saying is trustworthy, and I want you to insist on these things, so that those who have believed in God may be careful to devote themselves to good works. These things are excellent and profitable for people. The key phrase here for today is careful to devote themselves to good works. The book of Titus is a letter from Paul to a man named Titus that he's left with a church, and the church is in a challenging situation. And so Paul is advising Titus on how to guide these people to live respectable kind of Christian lives, to live respectably and to make a difference in their world. And so he talks about the qualifications for elders in chapter 1. He talks about sound doctrine in chapter 2, and he talks about being ready for every good work in chapter 3. But beginning in 2:17 through 3:8 specifically, he mentions good works 3 times. He tells us to be zealous for them, to be ready for them, and to be careful to devote ourselves to them, to good works. In Ephesians 2:10, Paul also said that God prepared these good works for us in advance that we would walk in them. God, in this passage, he's telling us to be careful to devote ourselves to good works. That word translated careful is only used here in the New Testament, the Greek word. And it means to think, to consider, and to be thoughtful. We're to be actively engaged in trying to prepare to do good works. In verse 3:1, it says to be ready for every good work. But here he's saying be careful to devote ourselves to good works. We want to intentionally spend time putting the environment and our energy and our mind and our body in a position where we can do good works. Those good works are things that God tells us to do. It may be praying for a coworker. It may be helping someone else out at work. It may be running an errand for someone or doing something to help a coworker in some way that's outside of the job description. One time I had to pick up a coworker's wife in the hospital because he was out of town and give her a ride home. There are all kinds of things that God brings across our path as opportunities for us to do for people because we follow him. And if we're careful to devote ourselves to these things, we intentionally make time to be available for these types of opportunities when they come up. Many of us are so busy that we run right past the opportunities that God gives us. And my reminder today is for us to take some time and ask God to show us how we can devote ourselves to good works. One of those ways is to make time. To come in a little early and get some of your work done ahead of schedule will apply. Another thing that you can do is plan to stay late. And tell your wife or your husband that you're going to be home a little late. Make some preparations and stick around the office and just see if you can help someone. Stick around your workplace. Stay and help someone on the next shift or someone in the next team. Do something to help someone that's outside of your job description. That's a good work. Being careful to do those things means that we intentionally plan. We put time in our schedule and we put energy in our life so that we're available to do those things. And I want to encourage you today, look for opportunities to make time. Do something early, do something before it needs to be done so that you can be interrupted. God will interrupt you and he will put you to work and you will experience a joy that you can't explain because you're listening to God and you've intentionally been careful to devote yourself to whatever he calls you to do. This is very important. The joy that you experience when you do that becomes very contagious to the people around you, and it will transform your workplace. Trust me and do this, and you will see it. Thanks so much for being a Marketplace minister. Thank you for being a follower of One and for listening to this podcast. Please share this with your friends and encourage those around you to be careful to devote yourself to good works so that you can glorify God. Thanks very much.